in such
Are
an
you ready yet?
I am sorry.
Moot, you're so cute.
Um, I think I'm ready. Let
Are
me
you
get
sure?
my I don't know for a fact, but I don't think it's getting anywhere other than at this point.
You ever
But
gotta
my
hit your
neck, what?
I was gonna say.
Kind of hoping that we'd get a nice little end of the world after that.
But like live, laugh, toast, or bath.
I've considered slipping into a bathtub while blow drying my hair.
Delulu is the Salulu.
Back in May, we partnered with an incredibly unique small business called Aware Causes, and that's spelled out AWARECAUSES, which is also their Instagram handle, to provide our listeners with the largest discount code they have to offer. Their website is www.awarecauses.com. That's www.awarecauses.com. Enter their code NOTALONE30, and that's NOTALONE30 at checkout to receive 30% off your entire purchase. On their website, you can find an assortment of jewelry and apparel that mainly brings awareness to mental health disorders. Also, the company now offers custom engraved necklaces, so check out their website to shop jewelry and apparel with a cause. And again, that's www.awarecauses.com. Enter the discount code NOTALONE30, NOTALONE30 at checkout and receive 30% off your entire purchase. While you're on their website, scroll down to the bottom of their homepage, enter your email to sign up for newsletters to receive updates on new items, different designs that they've custom engraved for other customers, and any new deals they may have to offer. If you're tuning into episode 3 of season 2, as always, we thank you for your support and for being here with us whenever you got the chance to tune into this episode. I can't allow Tori to take any responsibility for this because her life has been so much busier than mine in the last literal actual year. Zero exaggeration there. And including preparing herself for the start of a brand new position that at her job that she's worked so hard, so tirelessly, and I'm just beyond ecstatic for her.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. But damn, I am literally dropping bombs in this season. Like, I might as well be ISIS, and I'm not sure if I phrased that or put that in the correct context. Can you validate that for me?
I don't think I want to validate that.
Just let me know if I used it correctly.
Sure. Yeah, you did.
In
100%.
this context. Okay.
You did.
Solid. Time just seems to have flown south for the summer because I just don't know where I've been or what the hell I've been doing. I don't think I have unclenched my jaw since I sent you a text yesterday asking if we were supposed to be filming today. Honestly, I cannot even admit what I had to do to bust on this episode outline. I did not do drugs, if anybody was wondering or curious. However, what I did do is strongly, highly not recommended, so that's why I can't share it.
Well, you texted me and you probably thought I had my life together because I was like, oh, yeah, it's totally tomorrow. Did I have my life together? No, I pulled up my calendar. I was like, please tell me it's next week. And it wasn't. And like I'm never one to fly by the seat of my pants, like in the way of living, but here I am. And at this point, I'm surprising myself that I haven't collapsed with exhaustion.
At the point where we were discussing after the last episode, where we were discussing like when we were supposed to film and like when you needed to be when you were available to film this episode, did it slip your mind that you were starting work this week, or did it just
100%. Absolutely forgot. And I've been up at work preparing. I was up there for 5 hours yesterday and everything's finally ready, but I'm like, I have to do what tomorrow? Like I was like, "Oh man, I'm just dropping the ball. I will never hold that ball steadily. It will be dropped constantly and you are
Mhm.
welcome for that."
Just as, I mean, I'm dropping bombs here, so fair enough.
At least I'm
And
not doing that.
I don't even have an excuse that would even come considerably close to ever discredit your excuse. I even slept until almost 11 o'clock today, and I thought that would never happen until I'm dead. And if anyone told me that I would ever be able to sleep past at least 9:30, at the very least, I would assume that they're plotting to kill me, and I would just have to ask how I can be of assistance. So,
How can I help you? Do you want me to hold that knife?
yeah, like, how are you planning to do it? Can we do it this way instead?
Hold on, let me do my makeup first. I want to die pretty. Like,
Yeah, absolutely, actually.
yeah, you're right. So, honestly.
Also, I don't even feel like getting that much sleep did anything for me whatsoever. I
Mhm.
think that it is similar, like how I feel is similar to as if I would have woke up at 5, 6 in the morning, like usual. And I think if I wake up at least 9 or 9:30, 8 is fine with me, but at the very latest 9 or 9:30 would be the appropriate amount of time to actually benefit me in a positive way.
I think the longer I sleep, the worse I feel, and I think that's because I don't wanna admit it, but, like, I'm getting older, and sleeping too much, I'm like, "Oh, aches and pains, get my walker," because it's just it does not vibe with my body.
No, we just have to find that happy medium, and how we're gonna get there, I have no fucking clue.
We won't.
Oh, I didn't even censor myself there. Oops.
Selena, I didn't even
I know.
realize it.
And I don't know what I even said in order to edit that out and start over. So I guess that's staying in, guys. I will try
Whoopsies.
not to do that again because I still have my
Yeah, you couldn't
available.
do that.
I
Oh my
know.
god.
I I am on one today, last night. So bad.
We really did structure this episode, but I don't know if it's gonna stay that way.
I have absolutely no idea at this point. And I don't even think that we have talked that much since the last episode shoot, which makes me sad. But with my complete lack of knowledge and what day it is and what time it is at this point, we could have very well just had a very important conversation literally at the end of last week. And if you told me that that specific conversation happened, yesterday I would believe you. Like
Maybe we
that's
did.
how we could have,
We could have.
like, literally yesterday, but it didn't happen. I'm certain of that. Let's be transparent here. We know there is not a single universe that exists where you and I have had a serious, well thought out, planned, and executed conversation at
No.
this point.
No. No.
Not, I don't know how many universes there are, but not one will have had a well plot out
No.
conversation between you and I.
Not one of them. I'm sorry. I have to
Mm-mm.
agree.
But anyway, how have you been, Tori?
Busy, tired, but happy. School's starting in a few days. My kids are so excited to get back, have that routine, and see all their classmates again. And I've spent the last week or so getting school supplies together for all the kids and labeling all the school supplies. So they're gonna be the dorks that show up to school and everything's got like with my label maker, their names. And I know I'm just embarrassing my children, but what else am I supposed to do as a mother? Be cool? No,
Well,
I'm gonna embarrass them. It's fun.
yeah.
But how have you been trudging through the mud?
First of all, that is your OCD kicking in to the extreme.
I know.
And that probably is going to rub off on them. And I mean, I'm sure they might even appreciate that
I
it
think they
even this
will.
young. Yeah,
I think they
me
will.
too.
My dresser drawers are labeled actually from what's in the drawer. And I'm just now stating that out loud, and it does feel a little like I should be diagnosed.
I I didn't think I didn't think you were at that point of OCD, but wow, I'm learning something new that I haven't learned in the last how many years we've been friends.
15? No, more than that. You're welcome.
I'm so appreciative of that.
Yeah.
This could not be a surprise to you in any aspect, no matter how I approach this. I couldn't even jump out of a cornfield. You might happen to be walking by and surprise you with
Mhm.
what I'm about to say. It is killing me that Eminem is only doing surprise performances at different events, and I never know where he is going to be performing. I shit you not. 3 out of 5 of my emails are subscribed to his official page, so I actually do not miss a single update coming straight from the official source. And before anyone reports me to the authorities to warn Eminem to get a restraining order against me, my 5th email is, in fact, the podcast email. So,
No, are you sure? Are you positive?
positive, absolutely positive. I also did not consciously subscribe using 3 of my emails.
Mhm.
I just
Sure.
kept seeing fake posts going around that he would be touring in 2024. And I didn't know it was fake at the time, so I kept going to his official website to look up, for updates, and I kept forgetting that I was already subscribed with my first email, my second email address, a third email address. So subscribe with 3 emails. You might consider me an addict at this point or absolutely batshit crazy,
Yeah.
but that is true. I, back to his surprise performances just killing me, and I am so dead serious about this. He he posted tickets on sale for a performance the day of the
Mhm.
performance. I just Now I'm seeing so many TikToks of his live performance in Los Angeles. I am truly dying inside, little by little. And that's even more little by, like, that doesn't include everything else that's wrong with
Yeah.
me.
Oh my gosh.
And what I'm seeing on these TikToks is that the stands were absolutely packed. And I'm sure those tickets sold out within half a second after he posted it to his website. And my dying wish is to see Eminem live. And I fear that the only way that will happen is if I spend the rest of this summer, all of this fall, and this winter in Detroit, Michigan, and attend every single event in that city and state. And I would wholeheartedly, absolutely do this.
You
I
would.
don't, I don't care, lack of funds, don't care. I will be homeless and then have just to have enough money to go to every event just to see if he's going to be there. because because that is my dying wish, I can't end my life anytime soon. I've
You
been
can't.
pretty transparent about the fact that I have had well thought out plans and intent to actually end my life on more than one occasion. And then I remind myself that there is something more that is not just, my friends, my family, my niece, there's something more that is keeping me alive.
I shouldn't laugh.
It's trigger warning content here. It's dark humor. We're supposed to be laughing at
You're
this.
right. You're right.
But I am reminding myself that I have yet to see Eminem perform, and that has saved my life more than anything else. And I hate to admit that.
Okay. Okay. All I got from that rant is that you have way too many emails, and I have a burning question. Do you have the same password for all the emails, separate passwords? If you have separate passwords, how do you remember those? That's the only thing I'm concerned about in that whole rant because I already knew you were crazy.
Yeah, so here's the deal. The email address that I used to initially specifically sign up for Facebook, however many years ago that was,
Mhm.
that is an email that I change the password of quite often because if I get a scam message in my inbox,
Mhm.
I will immediately change my Facebook password and my email address password to prevent the slightest possibility that I could get hacked.
Yeah.
But the other email addresses, I do have the same password on most of them, but no, don't worry because those passwords are saved in a very sacred place thanks to Apple.
That is so nice. I'm still going to be concerned about the amount of passwords you have to remember, but I digress.
Our trin- our trigger warning password, that is completely different and I've now
Yeah.
memorized that password, so
I forgot it.
it's fine. I knew you did. I knew
Mine's
at this point.
automatically logged on. It's fine.
Yeah, as before we even started shot our first episode of the season, I knew you had forgotten that password by that point. So, no question in my mind.
You're
But
welcome.
this is also important to me to bring up right now, probably for a reason I might discover near the end of this story. One of my dogs, my sweet old baby boy Oakley, who is so little, hurt his foot the other day. He
Oh.
was limping, and I could just feel the amount of pain he was in when Mike accidentally touched his foot a couple of times to see where he was hurting. The cry that he let out was so heartbreaking. We saw that he basically had a hangnail that was causing him pain, and he was biting at it so much he was bleeding. I am no dog expert, no vet, but I do know that dogs' nails do have nerves in them, and if
Mhm.
you aren't a professional and you do clip them from home, you have to clip them very gently and you cannot clip too much
Yeah.
because if a dog has to have a nail surgically removed, they have to be sedated in order for
Mhm.
that to happen. So Mike cut a very small piece of the nail to try to help relieve the pain, but of course, we can't speak to him, so we have no
Mhm.
idea if that even helped or not. He was not able to jump on and off our bed. He hasn't been able to jump on our bed for quite some time. So Thursday night, I had to sleep with them in our spare bedroom where the mattress is just on the floor. There's no bed springs or anything like that, just in hopes that he would be able to get on and off the mattress more comfortably when he needed to eat or drink. He was in so much pain at this point that he wasn't even able to do that. I
Hmm.
had to deliver his food and water to him. He is completely healed up now, and I think I might know why I needed to bring this up at this point. My 1 year old, big headed, ornery little shithead of a dog would not stop jumping up and down from the mattress. He kept jumping on Oakley, and he just likes to be close to his little brother. I understand that, but he has no idea how much bigger he really is than Oakley. He may have a really big head, but there is a very, I wouldn't even say half a house or half a mouse's brain in that big head of his. And so that night I had taken my sleeping medication later than I typically would have because I wanted to make sure that Oakley was okay. And when I tell you, Keanu, my big-headed shithead of a dog, woke me up at least 68 times that night just because he could not figure out where he wanted to lay or what he wanted to do. So what this means is that my smart ring tracked a sporadic 4 hours and 45 minutes of sleep that night. Therefore, when I could no longer sleep, I had not gotten the appropriate amount of sleep in order to actually function as an adult in this real world. I I was consciously doing stupid shit and having to correct myself over and over and literally thinking my brain, Selena, is wrong with you. I was functioning so improperly that I had to ask my sister if the word neck was spelled with a K, as in K-N-E-C-K. I am so embarrassed to admit that.
Not a connect.
Like, knock is spelled that way, so I feel like this was justified in the state of mind that I was actually in.
Oh my God.
And I'm so embarrassed to admit that to our viewers and listeners, but I need to just advise you that if you take sleeping medications and do not get the appropriate amount of sleep, you can seem even more mentally unstable than you ever thought was possible. And as if I even needed to give my husband another reason to believe I am off my rocker a little bit, as soon as I woke up, he asked me a question, and immediately my brain could not get a single coherent sentence to answer to whatever it was that he asked me. And it also told my husband that I was very mad at Keanu and he was not going to get as many butt scratches and kisses. He was going to get only a few from me that day.
Wow, you're just a mean dog mom, aren't you? Instead of 38 kisses, he gets 5. Meanie.
Mm-hmm.
No, I get it though. I give my husband a reason every day to be worried about my mental well-being. And at this point, he's just unfazed by my constant state of like mental institution patient. And at this point, I think he's even given me like my own patient number, and I probably have a chart somewhere that I don't know about. So I get it.
He's secretly emailing with your mental health professional, yeah. Like, shouldn't she be taking this pill every day? I'm not sure that she is.
Yeah. He would know. There's probably a filing cabinet around here that's just filled with how Tori did this today, and I'm very concerned. It's somewhere.
I believe that, and I'm sure that my husband has to. He probably doesn't keep any chart, but I'm sure he's telling his friends that he plays video games with how nuts I am sometimes.
Oh, probably. Yeah. Typical.
And as per usual, I have given everyone who both listens and or watches this podcast, and you, Tori, some very useless information about my life. Thank you for listening, even though you specifically did not have any other option.
I apologize, listeners. We've been forced yet again into season 7, episode 9 of Selena's life.
You're all so welcome. We, including most, if not all of our lunatics, struggle with mental and psychiatric illnesses, right?
Yeah, I mean, struggle, maybe not. Suffer, depends on the day.
Fair enough. Suffer is the word that I would use for myself every single day.
Yes.
Of course, I cannot speak on things that I know absolutely nothing about, but I can speak from experience as well as some experiences of those that I speak to that struggle and have been diagnosed with mental and or psychiatric illnesses. When diagnosed with these illnesses, very rarely, if ever at all, we are not told or given a handbook that explains more about your single or multi-diagnosed illnesses. You're only going to ever know more about your diagnosis from whatever source or professional that gave you your diagnosis, which a professional should be giving you your diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
If you have the opportunity, and are given enough time to discuss them more in depth, the more questions you ask, the more you learn. And I have to preach this loud and proud that you have to be your biggest advocate, because like I said in the prior episode to this episode, there is very rarely going to be anyone that advocates more for your mental health than you do. Sometimes not everyone is given enough time to ask all the questions they may have. Sometimes, even if given the time, some mental health professionals will not even always present you with more than just the basic information and or resources that you might easily be able to find yourself on Google. And you can find legitimate resources to explain your illness or illnesses more in depth. And sometimes you are not properly diagnosed, and it may take some time to receive a proper diagnosis. There
Mm-hmm.
is no handbook, rule book handed out to you when you receive a diagnosis. There is not one path that everyone that is struggling with the same illnesses would take to live with or understand what your individual struggle is. You have to find what works for you. Talk to peers and family members if you can, as often as you can, and take away different coping mechanisms, that are presented to you and figure out how to make them work for you. There have been several occasions where I have asked my psychiatrist what times of the day are best to take certain medications, and I've asked for various types of advice, and I get the same answer almost every time. She tells me how other patients of hers have had success with taking a medication at a specific time of the day, or that she's had patients struggling with something specific that I bring up, and she provides me with guidance on how other patients of hers have overcome the struggles with whatever I specifically brought up. After she does tell me those things, she follows up with this answer: you have to figure out how it's going to work for
Mm-hmm.
you. And I just cannot stress that enough. We all do not respond to medications or coping mechanisms the same way. Therefore, we need to continue to try new things, look up resources, connect with peers struggling with the same illnesses or multi-diagnosed illnesses. Regardless of having the same or similar diagnosed illnesses, take pieces of information found and given to you by peers and or your mental health professional and put those pieces together in a puzzle in a way that you respond well to. Mental illnesses can result from a combination of genetic, biological, social factors, etc. Stress, trauma, and life experiences can play a significant role in the development of these conditions, which literally means that each individual that are diagnosed with the same type of conditions and illnesses, but the development of those conditions did not happen in the same way for every individual, which also very obviously means treatment responses will vary for everyone. Put more trust into the way that your nervous system reacts and responds, because you're not crazy and you're not a lost cause.
I completely agree with that. That people always think immediately, I don't know why, and I've done it myself. Am I crazy? And you're not. Maybe. But I might be. But you really have to think on the positive side of that. But as we were discussing this episode, I was, deep diving, doing my thing, and I found that according to an article by the International Journal on Mental Health Systems, published in March of 2020, that half of all mental disorders start by the age of 14, and they're usually preceded by a non-specific psychosocial disturbance. So it's not always the same thing, but it can most likely be some sort of psychosocial disturbance that could potentially involve any major mental disorder, and accounting for 45% of the global burden of disease across the 0 to 25 age span. That is what the most prominent one is mental health. And while some action is being taken to promote services and early prevention dedicated to young people, you and I both know that mental health is still needs to be more prominent and more talked about during this time, and it's still largely unmet. Um, the significance of this study basically is stating that early detection of mental illnesses is crucial to improving mental health overall, especially in youth. So, you and I both know that it is difficult and it is hard, especially at our age. And we both got diagnoses pretty late in life, I would say, compared to these statistics, knowing we both were struggling with something at the age of 14. And I think you can probably contest to that. Um, but additionally, I found another article published by the National Alliance on Mental Illness, or NAMI, as we have discussed in many of our episodes. And this was published in 2022. And it shows statistic correlating to early intervention in mental illness as saving lives. And the average delay between symptom onset of a mental health condition and diagnosis and then treatment is 11 years. So if I stop and think about that, I was initially diagnosed with just a panic disorder at 16. My mother could probably speak for this herself and say I've had that my entire life, but I didn't get on the correct treatment until very recently, maybe a year ago. And well, that was about, I don't like math, but that was about 13 years ago that I was initially diagnosed with something. So that gap in actually figuring out what works needs to be shortened, because that means that if someone begins experiencing, say, major depression at the age of 14, they're unlikely to receive any help until the age of 25. And for a young person, that means suffering for almost half of their entire life before getting the help they need. And for many, that means the possibility of treatment is far too late. And as we know, the statistics for suicide in youth is very high. And if you're looking at this again, you're noticing these children were suffering at a young age and not getting the help they need or understanding their diagnosis, as you were saying, and getting that help in the way that works for them. So, this is also showing that 50% of all lifetime mental illness is beginning at that age of 14 and 75% by the age of 24. And looking at our age range and the people around us, I can most definitely identify these adults that are still struggling with something that started in their youth, and that's just something that is so hard because as a youth you don't know where to turn sometimes. And addressing that mental health crisis in youth and saving lives through that early intervention starts with making very small changes in your own life and in others' lives, just showing up for young people in your life, asking them how they're really doing, reminding them that they're okay. It's okay to not be okay, assuring them that they're not alone, and helping them connect to different resources. And as adults, and in today's society, I feel that we do have to be more responsible for those young people in our lives and getting them the help that they need and that they deserve. And again, for all of our listeners, this information is all coming directly from NAMI, and we will link all of those additional resources to this article and all other resources offered by NAMI in our show notes.
Thank you for taking the time to really drive home how important it is to diagnose and treat mental illnesses in youth before they get too old to even have the opportunity to figure out what they're going through and what they're feeling. Because, like you said, if you're not diagnosed correctly in your youth, you may not be diagnosed until you're 26 years old. That's when I was properly diagnosed. It
Yeah.
took that long. And I know how hard it is. And I'm not speaking from experience, but I've seen it. I've literally seen it right in front of my face. Mothers can be so vicious to each other when
Hmm.
they should be the first the first part of like a community or group that actually validates you and supports you and gives you the support you need in order to keep going on as a parent. Like,
Mm-hmm.
parents to parents, mothers to mothers. It's just so horrendous to see how many mothers attack other mothers. So we have never provided a safe space for mothers to ask those questions and not feel good about the questions that they're
Mm-hmm.
asking and not feeling like they're parenting correctly. It just sucks.
It does, and it adds to a mental health struggle in mothers that you're constantly judged and you cannot reach out, which just sets us back even further in any sort of mental health outcry at all.
hmm I think many of us, if not all of us, are aware that mental illnesses can affect various aspects of daily life, including work, relationships, and self care, which literally means they can affect almost every aspect of our daily lives, which is in itself a very scary thing to come to terms with. For some of us, if not all of us, this includes having to take medications for the rest of our lives so that our brains don't try to kill us. Just throwing out some legitimate facts here for those that may not be aware of them. Many mental psychological illnesses are classified as disabilities. And in many workplaces, there are legal protections against discrimination for individuals with mental health conditions. Laws like the ADA, which is the Americans with Disabilities Act,
Mm-hmm.
in the United States provide certain rights and accommodations for those affected in their conditions. If you have ever been secluded, discriminated against, reprimanded, demoted, fired, etc., for things that were mental, psychological illness related, connect with a legal representative if at all possible. Most importantly, find legitimate resources that can aid or provide you guidance on ADA and FMLA related regulations in the workplace. There are some stipulations that exclude some workplaces from having to abide by these laws, but those stipulations are very few. If a workplace doesn't or cannot produce supporting documentation for a valid termination, demotion, etc., there may be grounds to take legal action against the company. And I'm not pushing anyone or advising anyone to take legal action on a specific situation you may have had in the workplace. You and your legal representative must come to that conclusion on your own. I think it's pretty obvious that I'm not a lawyer. I am not a legal representative, and I cannot determine that your specific situation is grounds to take legal action.
I know we're probably going to start sounding like a broken record here, but again, we're reiterating you need to advocate for yourself. Advocation is key.
Mhm. As much as I'd love to say that the answer to all your questions or concerns can be easily found, that's just not the case. Though we have made some huge strides in regard to having more legitimate and trustworthy resources that can be found in your research, more studies are being done and new information will always be present as time goes on. And as a society, we still have a lot that as individuals must do in order to break the stigma and misconceptions. Whether you do or do not struggle with mental illnesses or psychological illnesses, you do have the ability to aid our communities to break the stigma and shove the misconceptions so far up every incompetent, ignorant person's asshole that they need to have them surgically removed. The most important parts that I want you to remember and take away from all of this is that recovery is a personal and ongoing process. You are more than capable of finding your way to managing your conditions and living an impactful and fulfilling life.
I always want to stop your rants, but I know that this is like your therapy session, right? And I really hope we have a blooper come out after this episode. But can we take 5 seconds, go pop some popcorn so I can just I'm at the movies right now with you. It's so much fun.
I
I'm
hope you
laughing
enjoy
at yours.
listening to me this. Oh gosh.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. Well, Tori, I think it's time I put a fist in my mouth. I don't have a foot fetish. And shut the hell up so we can close this episode out for good. But before I do, I just have to say that when my husband hears me say that specific statement, he is absolutely 100% going to say the words, I have something you can put in your mouth to make you shut up. I will bet everything that I have on that, and I don't have a lot,
Ah,
but it is worth the bet.
I think it is. It is. Every spouse, partner, whoever that has that appendage will say that.
Absolutely. If you've survived another day at war with your brain, you are superior, and we are wishing you nothing but peace in your soul, your mind, and another day of surviving until you can find your way of living.
And we will see all of you lunatics in 2 weeks on Trigger Warning Podcast.